Hey folks, I am Kevin Iole with Yahoo Sports, and I have covered fights for many, many years, and I don't get asked questions about anybody more than my next guest, the former heavyweight champion of the world, and I should mention the World Boxing Super Series EA Sports Fight Night champ of the world, beating Muhammad Ali, Mike
Thank
Tyson.
you.
How are you, Mike?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Kevin.
Did you happen to see that the World Boxing Super Series put on that virtual tournament? They did it with EA Sports video game, and they had you and you beat Muhammad Ali in the finals.
Unfortunately, I had no idea what's going on until you just mentioned it. I'm just so far from that kind of stuff. But I know it's a fantasy game, so most likely I will win the fantasy game. I wouldn't win the real fight, but the fantasy fight is good.
So you and Ali, you wouldn't beat Ali?
Ali is the greatest that ever lived.
I'm with you there, Mike. I was looking at your Instagram the other day, and I wanted to start with this. You got a million things going on, but I thought it was really kind of a cool thing. You're raising some money for charity for people who were affected by the COVID-19 situation. You're selling some T-shirts. Wash your damn hands. Tell me about that. Who's it going to benefit? How'd you come up with that idea?
Well, listen, my wife is really the idealist in the family, and she thought this would be awesome, and I championed it with her. So it's really her idea, and I'm just supporting it. And I thought it was really funny.
Well, I'm going to get a couple of those to give away to people that I have on because I thought they were pretty good. I like those. Do you have one? Are you going to be wearing one around?
Absolutely, my wife is going to make me wear one. I'm surprised she didn't make me wear one today.
Yeah, that would have been good. That would have been good advertising. What is it like for you, by the way? Your podcast is really taken off. I saw you have over 1 million subscribers, Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. And I wrote down some of the guests, and they're not just fighters. And of course, one of my favorite fighters, Sugar Ray Leonard, but you had Michael Franzese from the Mafia on there, Holyfield, of course, Tyson Fury, Mickey Rourke. I saw Justin Gaethje. You just interviewed Justin Gaethje,
Yeah,
Dana White. What is this like being on the other side? You're probably the most interviewed person since Ali died. What is it like being on the other side, being the guy asking the questions?
being on the other side, you get an opportunity to be able to examine the person that you're interviewing, and you get a perspective that you thought you never would possess if you never did that interview.
Right.
People who I went in there with kind of a funny attitude, and I left really respecting them and really wanting to be involved in their life.
And it's been, have you enjoyed the whole process of doing this? Because you're creating another business empire almost. You made your money in boxing, you made your fame in boxing. Now you're doing all these different things that are kind of, giving your second career, so to speak, going.
Absolutely, but I give most of my credit to hot boxing because during this situation, listen, a guy like me, I never had a high school education, so I'm in a position of teaching, so to speak, right?
Right.
By no means, I feel like I'm an idiot, so I'm an idiot teaching, right? And then when I get in the perspective when I think I'm teaching, I realize I start to learn.
So you're learning yourself from doing it.
Yes, by thinking I'm a teacher. And I believe that's the whole idea of being a teacher before you be able to learn.
Right.
By believing that you're teaching, you start to learn. And I've learned a lot, so to speak.
That's fascinating. I want to get into some of the other things you're doing. Obviously, the one-man show is kind of on hold while we got the pandemic going on. But I want to just talk to you a little bit about fighting. And I mentioned Justin Gaethje, so I'll get into that UFC fight in a second. But I want to ask you if you remember something. When you fought Clifford Etienne in 2003, you had a body double show up in Memphis, Tennessee. So everybody was waiting for you to arrive. You had just gotten the tattoo on your face. Everybody wanted to see that tattoo. And another guy comes off the plane that looked like you, that wasn't you, but everybody thought it was you. Do you remember that? And how the hell did that happen?
I don't know. People are crazy. I don't know. I don't even remember that stuff, man. But yeah, it's interesting when you're young and you got the spotlight on yourself, so to speak, and you take yourself serious.
Right.
Then I realized the time went on, and I'm 54, and I realized I was really a joke, and I was taking myself serious, and that's why I was just so reckless in life, just taking yourself too serious.
I thought that was a good one, because it was really a great misdirection. I think you went into Mississippi to get up to Memphis, and everybody showed up at the Memphis airport, and there was Clifford Cowser, who always kind of billed himself as your half brother. I don't know if he was actually related to you, but
I don't even know Clifford. Clifford don't know no one in my family.
But I remember back in the day, he's from Las Vegas, and back in the day, he would say he was your half brother and all this, and he looked remarkably like you. It was great.
Listen, Kevin, this guy Clifford, he got movie deals. He got so many jobs that I could never get that he got acting like me. Isn't that something?
You are making money for everybody, my friend. That is a great one.
Oh God.
Do you ever, I know your boxing career was kind of turbulent and it was difficult to be in the spotlight you were in. I can only imagine what that must have been like. But just the boxing itself, forget all the stuff that goes around it. Do you ever miss the fighting itself?
Absolutely not. Because by fighting, learning that fighting just gave me a platform to do what I want and to be who I want now. And no, I don't think about the fights that much. I don't think about that because that was all ego pretty much infused back then. And I'm at the state of my life now where my ego is in proper perspective, so to speak.
Right.
So anything associated with my ego, I don't really have a connection with. Does that make sense?
No, I get you. So it's like you've learned. You talked about before being a teacher. You learned from your earlier career, and you're applying it to life. What you're doing right now.
Absolutely. I'm trying to know what I want so desperately that I never possessed. I said, what is it that I want so desperately that I never actually possessed in my prime of my life? And that is, I don't know, what is the balance?
Balance in your life?
Yeah. And standards. I never had those two things. And now I'm possessing them. I look at my past life as almost like a Neanderthal lifestyle.
Mm. The other night on, what was it, Tuesday night, ESPN2 had Muhammad Ali fights, and then they had a bunch of your fights. Is that something you would even turn on? Like, if you knew it was on, would you sit and watch it or no?
No. Unless somebody was at my house and say, hey, Mike, check this out. Or check this out.
Right.
And somebody who knows me say, hey, look how well you moved your head. And say, look how you're not moving your head and you're getting hit with jabs. Like,
right.
Definitely I don't want to watch it with somebody like that because he's going to pick out all my flaws.
Yeah. I actually I tweeted, I think they were showing your fight with Larry Holmes, and I tweeted during that, I said, the thing about Tyson that made him so great as a fighter, not just that power and your quickness that you had, but you had such good upper body movement. Your head and upper body movement was fantastic in those fights, and Larry wasn't able to land that jab on you so much because you were moving a lot.
Well, my trainer, Customato, was a strong believer in defense. He didn't believe in, he just thought that smart fighters live longer.
That is amazing. And you did great, defensively early, but did you feel like as your career went on that maybe you relied just on that, you had that ability to knock somebody out with one punch, that you went away from the defense and more toward offense?
Because at that time, when you want an easy life, you have to work hard.
Right.
When you want an easy life, you don't have to work hard. But you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I used to do in the beginning. I wanted to have an easy life, so I worked hard. So then as I got where I wanted to accomplish my goals, so to speak, I became champion. I defended my title 10, 11 times. The world knew who I was. And then I searched for other goals. I wanted to be seen in other kinds of lights, another perspective. My ego was just overwhelming me, and I was being consumed with it.
Mike, you're obviously a smart guy, and you've read a ton of books, and you've done things. You just weren't educated, right? If you had come up and say in the suburbs and had gone to college, got a high school education, gone to college, and weren't a fighter, like, what do you think you would have done? Like, what were the things that you were interested in that you look back on that you might have missed out on that would have been different than the path you chose?
Well, I didn't choose this path. Somebody else chose this path. I'm not one of the people in my life that believe I'm controlling my shit, that I'm driving this car and it's going where I'm telling it to go, because I'm not that sophisticated.
Right.
It's happening from the grace of the universe. And I'm not being spooky, I'm not being religious, I'm not being spiritual. It is what it is.
Right. It's just kind of, you fell into that, and that's what it was. Interesting. I know you love, I see you at a lot of the UFC fights, you love MMA. You just, as I mentioned, you interviewed Justin Gaethje on Hot Boxing. He's going to fight Tony Ferguson. Would you have loved to fight MMA if it was available then? Did you like MMA? Would you do it yourself if you could have?
Anybody today, from a perspective of fame and fortune and this course you would want to get in that because it's very popular. It supersedes boxing as far as popularity and stuff like that. But when you want to go into boxing, it just has such a big, profitable. When you're a great fighter, I don't care what the weight division, you demand the people, and when you demand the people, you can price anything you want, and that pay for it.
I know you're friends with Dana White, and he's been tremendously successful running the UFC. What is it about Dana, from what you know of him, that has made him so successful and able to build the UFC up from something? Hey, look, it was about to die, it was going to go under, and now it's worth billions of dollars. You know Dana very well. Why do you think he's so successful? What does he do that makes him successful, in your opinion?
He has iota of humanitarian skills. That's what he's very good with people.
Mm-hmm.
He has very good human skills.
So people relate to him, and so he can get people to do what he wants?
No, he gets them to do the right thing. Because Dana does the right thing. He gets people to do the right thing.
Right.
He don't get them to do what he wants.
Yeah.
But what he wants to do is the right thing.
He said...
No, and I'm not kissing no butt. That's a quality that I know of. He may have some sucky qualities, but I don't know of them.
Right, understood. Dana is like, he loves the fight game, right? I mean, I've never known a person who's not a fighter that loves the fights as much as Dana does, both boxing and MMA. And he's met every celebrity around the world, everybody. And he said to me, it wasn't that long ago, we were talking about you, and he said, I still get chills when I meet Mike Tyson. When you hear that, somebody like as accomplished as Dana White says that, what does that mean to you, if anything?
Hey, listen, Dana's just a very kind and decent human being, and he says very kind things to people. And I feel that way about him. He's a very kind guy to be kind, You have to be a kind person to know a kind person.
Right. If you don't mind, let me ask you a couple things about the UFC. First of all, what's your thought about UFC 249 going on? I mean, if you're fighting today or you're managing a fighter, I know you used to promote fighters. Erickson Lubin was one of your star fighters who I love Lubin.
Good kid. I really respect that young man.
So if you were promoting, would you do what Dana's doing now and trying to put the fights on even though the pandemic is going on?
Absolutely. For the safety of the fighters, we have to make sure everybody's safe and protected, and have to make sure they're in a safe environment. And by being in a crowdless environment, I don't think nobody's being jeopardized of getting sick. My experience of the disease so far, I'm not a professional, like we said, I'm not that educated in these matters, but if there's no people, they can't spread the disease. So that's what it comes to. That's what Dana comes down to really saying.
The one thing that I mentioned the other day in my story, and I want to see, you know this as a fighter, it costs fighters money for training camp. So if you train for 2 months to get ready for a fight and then they tell you, well, we're not going to fight because there's a virus pandemic, you're not only not making a paycheck, you're also out the money, right, that it costs you to get that training.
Well, that's true too, but listen, say this happens, say you're fighting, we're fighting, you give me the check for my expenses, $1 million, all right, it's going to come out of the person regardless. But then you gave me the $1 million, we started training, and then this happens. The promoter's out $1 million.
Right.
If we don't fight, I'm not paying you anything.
Right.
All right, so he's out of the money. But we have to work together as a team to make sure he gets his money back.
Right.
That's why we're fighting in these crowdless arenas.
So let's talk about UFC 249. It was supposed to be Khabib Nurmagomedov, and I know you're a fan of his, defending his title against Tony Ferguson. Justin Gaethje has stepped in because Khabib is in Russia. How do you see that fight going, and who do you like to win, Ferguson or Justin?
Hey, listen, the fight is going to be a barn burner, regardless. Somebody's going to get knocked out. It's not going the distance.
Right.
And it's a possibility because Justin is not going down. He's not laying down for anybody. You got to kill him to beat him.
Right.
And Ferguson, he administrates a lot of punishment.
Does it concern you? I watched your interview with him, and he said something to you that kind of put my antenna up. He said, I would rather get knocked out in the second round than win a decision. If you win the decision, you're the world champion. Like, how do you not want to win? So does that concern you if you're supporting him?
Know what happens sometimes with fighters? We believe that we're gladiators, and we're not.
Right.
But we believe that, and we have the gladiator mentality. His his opinion is not to win really, but it's to win dying.
Right.
So that's how the mentality is. It doesn't necessarily make it true.
Right.
It could, but I don't like that mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that and I was kind of like, I'm not sure, Justin. That was a tough one.
The name of the game is that this is not a tough man's sport.
Right.
A tough man is going to get really hurt in this game.
Right.
This is a thinking man's sport. Only the smartest win. That's the truth. In this game, fighting, the game of fighting, I don't care how you're fighting, wrestling, boxing, karate, jiu-jitsu, and fighting, only the smartest win, not the strongest, not the biggest, the smartest.
I know you're not a big fan of Floyd Mayweather personally, but he wasn't he a smart fighter in the ring?
Magnificently.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that was the kind of thing that made him such a...
Nobody can match him in that perspective. No way. Yeah.
You were a peer of Sugar Ray Leonard's. How do you think Sugar Ray Leonard would have done against Mayweather had they fought?
That would have been a beautiful fight. I would have loved to see that fight.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have to worry about somebody not throwing punches at him.
Yeah. No, he would have had him coming now, that's for sure.
Yeah, he would have been pitching them. He would have been pitching them beautifully.
Ray was a tough guy, no doubt. Hey, Mike, I want to ask you a couple other things. First, about your one-man show. You're in second season. Do you change it? Like, how does it go as you pick up, going that successful first year to now go to the second campaign? How did it change?
My wife does it. She starts picking up things just out of life, things that happen like the coronavirus. I'm so sure we're going to have a couple of stuff that happened in between the things that happened in our life during the coronavirus and this and that. And we're losing people during the coronavirus. And this is something that's going to be talked about until the end of time. Every time they talk about an era or a generation, we'll talk about the coronavirus.
Right.
And I'm sorry things happen. It's just I just can't explain it. This is just it's a tragedy and a marvel all at the same time.
Right. You haven't fought for close to 20 years, right? Or 15 years anyways. It's been since you've been fighting. Do you marvel, Mike, that people still care about you and they want to hear your story and they want to talk to you? I mean, does that get you sometimes when you look back on it and say, my God, after it was 30 years since you won the title and people were still fascinated by what you do and what you stood for?
Hey, listen, it's hard for me to even answer that question because every time a year goes by, I find myself being a different person. I change as time goes by. I find myself changing.
Right.
Unwillingly sometimes, but I find myself changing. I can't stop it.
For the better, mostly, or not?
I don't know what's better, what's worse. I'm not where I was before.
So you're happier.
Yes. Happy. I don't know if that's really existence happier. I'm in better emotional position than I was before.
Right. And it doesn't.
That's how we live off our emotions, pretty much.
Sure.
So we're slaves to our feelings, and our feelings are slaves to our emotions.
Right. A couple other things. I think people are fascinated. You've been doing a ton of media about Tyson Ranch and the business out there.
Tyson Ranch, awesome. Yes. I love Tyson Ranch. It's my baby. It's a high tech, state of the art, around 500-acre cannabis friendly resort. And man, we have the longest lazy river in the world. We have amusement parks. We have spinning wheels. We have travel huts. We have the golfing. Man, we have everything for the children, the family. We have university to talk about agriculture and all our marijuana and distractions from the plants and all that stuff. And we also have a wellness center. And man, we just have so much stuff, man.
Is that another Kiki thing? Is that where Kiki gave you the go ahead on that?
No, that's just something that me and our partners, we all put it together. We wanted to have like an oasis in the deserts of hot springs. Yeah. And it was just awesome, and that's what it pretty much is oasis in the desert.
So now
you can see it off the freeway, so it's going to always be something that you can see, and it's always eye-catching.
That is awesome. So now, that's the best kind of money, right? You just have the checks coming in. You don't have to go out and punch a time clock, and the checks come in every day, right?
Yeah, the checks come in, but the whole purpose of the checks come in is for the checks can go for people who need it more than we do, like the homeless and the addictive and all that stuff, man. There's a whole bunch of people that need money
So
so
you're
much
benefiting a
more than
lot of people that way?
absolutely, man, absolutely.
Wow. Good for you.
Standing United is one of the biggest organizations that we sponsor, and we're fighting for them to be able to be in a position to help the homeless and the inflicted with drugs and abuse. And listen, man, we're fighting to keep people alive. I've never been so entrenched in helping people as much as I am with these people in Standing United.
That is awesome. I'm glad to hear that, Mike. Congratulations for you. That's really admirable that you're doing that, and you're using your fame and your popularity and your name to do good. That is awesome. Let me wrap it up with this then. I want to ask you. You picked. I believe you thought Tyson Fury was going to beat Deontay Wilder in that fight, but what was your take on Wilder's performance? You know, he's getting a little. You know, Fury, I thought, of course, was awesome. Were you surprised that Wilder wasn't more successful in that fight than he was?
No, it's like Wilder suffered a lot of energy that I once had. You know, we have to be able to accept our mistakes. You know what I mean? And stand up and say, hey, I messed up. The best man won.
Mm-hmm.
And be consumed with our ego. Nobody was more consumed with their ego than me.
Right.
So that's what it is. We always look for excuses when we lose. And so I couldn't have lose. It must have been a mistake. Somebody had to cheat me.
Right.
I was meant to lose. God didn't ordain me to lose. Listen. So we have to look in the perspective that a loss or a defeat is a form of education.
Do you think he can learn enough from that to cover the distance it's going to take him to beat Fury in their third fight?
Well, listen, I don't know anything about beating Fury in his third fight. In order for him to do that, he's going to have to beat himself in life. Mm. He's his biggest opponent at this moment in life. He's not going to stand a chance with Fury if he doesn't beat himself.
Interesting. Hey, Mike, and one other thing I wanted to mention to you that I thought, I don't know if you remember this, but it was funny. I wrote a column about you about 20 years ago, and I said, hey, Mike Tyson's doing all these good things, and, you know, I'm glad to see this, and I praised you and everything. And I get a phone call one day, and I answer the phone, and the guy says, Kevin? I said, yeah. He goes, this is Mike Tyson. And I'm listening, and I said, this is the worst Mike Tyson accent I have ever heard in my life. And I hung up the phone. And then I came over to the gym to see you working out, and you said, you hung up on me. And it was actually you, and I didn't know it was you. Do you remember that?
Listen, man. Now, thank Kevin. What article? Where was that in? Was that in sports? What article was that in?
I wrote. I was doing a freelance piece for Max Boxing at the time, and I wrote this article in Max Boxing. And I think Shelley Finkel sent it to you, and you called me to thank me for it. And I thought it was somebody imitating you.
You said that I had street cred up the yang yang back then.
I think I did.
Yeah, that blew my mind. I never thought about that. No, when you live your life. You're living your life. You never look at it in the perspective. You're living it like this. This is just who you live your life. I hang out in Brownsville. I hang out in poverty-stricken areas, and I'm champ of the world. And that's all I really related to back then.
Right.
You know, my friends is. You know, listen. When I'm champ of the world, say I'm 20 years old. I have friends that are 15 years old.
Right.
But I'm hanging out with 15-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids. It's just a bunch of kids hanging out with a lot of money that never happened before.
Exactly. That was crazy. Hey, Mike, I know you're busy and you've been really gracious with your time. I'm going to let you roll. I really appreciate you. Love it. I wish you success in everything you're doing. You can get T-shirts. You can go to Tyson Ranch. You can, after the coronavirus is over, we can see him on the one-man tour once again. Mike Tyson.
Kevin, that was the best article I ever had written about me.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, my friend.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Hey, it was good to see you, Mike. All the best.
I forgot about it. You brought it up. I forgot about it.
I'm good. Do you remember when you told me that? This was the last story because people will get a kick out of this, and you probably don't remember this. But the day in the gym, you, me, Freddie Roach, and there was a woman in the gym, Meg Ryan, who was the actress, and she was taking photos. You remember when she was there?
Yeah.
And that was crazy. So, anyways, Mike, it was great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.